Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let me make sure this is coming through okay. And yes, I'm seeing green all around. I'm just reading the story through. I heard about it, but I hadn't necessarily delved into it until now. So if this is not crisp, forgive me. I'm organizing my thoughts as I go through it. But I want to discuss D.N.C. chair purges dissenters in surprise shakeup. So Tom Perez essentially got rid of a bunch of progressives, of Bernie voters. Sanders loyalists and Ellison supporters were among the officials ousted amid an ongoing intra-party feud. Oh, civil war, call it what it is. Now, I think this story is interesting in two ways. In one way, it's everything wrong with the Democratic Party. And in another way, it's everything wrong with progressives who are working with the Democratic Party. Let me explain what I mean. In fact, let me read this first. The Republican Party isn't the only political establishment in shambles following the shock election of Donald Trump last fall. In a move that exacerbated the intra-party rift exposed during last year's presidential primary between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez has stripped away a number of longtime party officials of their at-large delegate status or leadership positions, while appointing a slate of 75 new members that include Clinton campaign veterans, lobbyists, and neophytes. Perez revealed his picks last week ahead of the D.N.C's first meeting since he was elected as chairman. Upon perusing it, Progressive Party members were incensed to find that he had demoted a number of veteran delegates who backed either Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison in his bid for chairman against Perez or Sanders in 2016. Those ousted include Ray Buckley, James Zogby, Alice German, Barbara Kaspar Sipperstein, NBC News reports. I'm concerned about the optics, and I'm concerned about the impact, Zogby said, of the D.N.C. shakeup. I want to heal the wound of 2016. Mind you, this guy has just been ousted. He's just been kicked out. He's just been demoted. Tom Perez got rid of him. He was a Bernie backer. And he's still saying, I'm concerned about the optics. I'm concerned about the impact. I want to heal the wounds of 2016. Oh, he's such a dandelion. He's such a flower. It's sad and tragic. German, too, noted that the move does not bode well for the party's quest to unify its progressive and establishment wings. It is quite unusual for a former party officer who has been serving on the D.N.C. forever to just be left out in the cold without even a call from the chairman, she told NBC. So I assumed it has something to do with my support for Keith. I understand that I fought very hard for Keith Ellison, and I understand that the winners go to spoils. In a statement to NBC News, Garnerpeak, Jesus Christ, these names. A spokesman for Ellison said, Keith suggests names for the D.N.C. at-large membership and committees. Some were selected and some were not. In the end, the selections are the prerogative of the chair. Oh, that's so lame. That's so lame. This is everything wrong with the left. And yes, this is everything wrong with the Democratic Party. This goes in both ways. To add insult to injury, Perez also tapped several individuals who have been lobbying or corporate interest backgrounds, a move that has sparked criticism in the past. The pack of new delegates include Joan Dodwell, a registered lobbyist for Fox News parent company News Corp, Harold Ickles, a veteran of the Clinton White House, and Manuel Ortiz, a lobbyist for Citigo Petroleum Corporation and Puerto Rican interests. At least 10 additional Perez-tapped superdelegates have previously been registered as lobbyists, Bloomberg reports. I love this. DNC spokesman Michael Tyler defended the chairman's appointments. This year's slate of at-large DNC member nominees reflects the unprecedented diversity of our party's coalition, he said in a statement to NBC News. This slate doubles millennials and Native Americans at-large representation, providing unprecedented representation for our allies in the labor community, and increases the presence of Puerto Rican at-large members at a time when the Trump administration refuses to take responsibility for the millions of Americans who are still suffering through a major humanitarian crisis. This is everything wrong with the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders at this particular point was running as a Democrat. And if we're being honest, even though Bernie Sanders calls himself a socialist or independent, ultimately he is a classic Democrat from the FDR era. That's all he is. He's nothing special. He's not a hardcore socialist. A socialist will look at Bernie Sanders and laugh. He's not a socialist in that vein. He's essentially a classic Democrat. You had a classic Democrat running against a corporate Democrat. That's what took place. That classic Democrat that nobody knew caught fire. And he caught fire because the country understood something fundamental. This guy, even if I disagree with him, has been fighting for these particular causes for his entire life. This other person, I don't believe. We need something fundamentally different. This guy is fundamentally different. Your party cheated that guy. And in cheating that guy, you put the weakest possible candidate up for presidency. Not because it was a groundswell of support that wanted her, but because it was her turn. And you went with this thing of trying to force people to think in this group think sense of it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Hoping that if people say it's inevitable enough, that it would in fact turn out to be inevitable. You guys were wrong. You weren't just wrong on a presidential level. You were wrong all throughout the country. You've lost everything. House, Senate, Supreme Court, presidency, 66 of 99 state legislatures. You've lost like 1,100 seats all throughout the nation. You failed on a massive fucking level. You have failed completely. Your legitimacy as a party has been obliterated. And yet, you still take steps as if you're the adults in the room. You still put people in places that, for the most part, failed in the capacity throughout the United States. Now, in dealing with this failure, a rational scenario would be, why did we fail so much? Why did people stop voting for us? How did we lose this base that represented what we were, meaning the working class, be it white or black, at the very least, this Democrats having lock on the working class? How did we lose that? You focus on identity. You focus on identity to the exclusion of everything else. This is everything wrong with the Democratic Party. When you're making this argument, talking about this is the most diverse collection, talking about you have Native American representation, Puerto Rican representation, black, whatever. It's not about their race. It's about what you do when you represent them in that office. When you put somebody in that office, what do you do when you're in that office? Do you represent the interests of the people who are putting you in that office? And goddamn newsflash, it's not about their race. It's not about their race. It has everything to do with whether you're representing your interests. I don't give a shit what your race is if you're representing my interests. And I guarantee you that interest is economic. It is easy for a Democrat to go with this idea of identity, because identity in no way challenges economic structures. Now, when the Democrats were classic Democrats, they were antagonistic towards Wall Street. They understood this idea that we are working for the workers, the poor, the sick, the indigent, the people who don't necessarily have means. We are working for the 99%, or hell, the 95% of the country. That's us. That's our base. That's who we're working for. The moment that you took on this thing of, well, fuck it, we can just do identity and we can take all this corporate money, and because we're dealing with identity, we can call everybody else a racist. Once you got on that one, you started to lose. And you started to lose over and over and over and over again. And the losses became so absolute that you're barely a party. You have the most rabid and batshit crazy Republicans, and you still have lost everything. You've missed the boat. You've missed the boat. This is everything wrong with your party. You can't just focus on identity to the exclusion of economics. I don't want you to be racist, so don't understand me. But I do want you to understand that you mentioning race in this abstract way doesn't matter. What are you putting in people's pocket? What are you putting in people's pocket? What are the policies? What are the economic policies that you're espousing that's going to put more money in those people's pocket, that's going to save those people's jobs, that's going to allow those people the resources to have an easier goddamn life? And if you're not doing that, you're worthless as a party. If you're not doing it, you're worthless as a party. You're in a capitalistic system. Your freedom, your range of freedom is purely determined upon how much cash you have in your pocket. How much cash you have in your pocket is going to determine what you eat, the air that you breathe, where you live, the vacations that you take. It's, for the most part, going to determine your life and your access to goods and services. The less money that you have in your pocket, the less access you're going to have to the things that you actually need. You can scream identity all day. What are you putting in my pocket? How are you making my life easier? If you're not going to save my job, if you're not going to make sure my kid have certain resources, meaning whether it's going to school or medical care, you can talk about identity all you want. It's not going to matter. Your incrementalism doesn't apply. On the flip side of this, these step and fetch it progressives. Yes, I'm calling them step and fetch it's. This guy has been ousted. And he's being ousted, as some of these people are being ousted for what they feel to be their allegiances, either to Sanders or to Ellison. And in them being ousted, he's still saying, I want to heal the wounds of 2016. How about fuck healing the wounds of 2016? How about taking your ball and going home? How about accepting and acknowledging that you're being purged because you're not necessarily towing this corporate line that they want, and they're angry that these progressives are going at these candidates that they're putting up, these people who have lost their legitimacy. They're angry about that. They don't like that. You're saying that there's an actual left in this country that doesn't necessarily involve Democrats. We don't like that you're saying that. You're making us look bad. We're going to get rid of these people. We're going to put in lobbyists and corporatists and other people. We're going to double down on the failures that have taken place all throughout the country. We are the Democratic Party, and we're not going to goddamn change. And the step and fetch of progressives, I want to heal of 2016. Your strength, your power in this is to take your ball and go home. If you don't want to change after failing to this extent, if you don't want to make changes that we believe are possible. Now, mind you, these guys are out here actually trying to work with the party itself, and the party is saying, you need not apply. You can go home. Now, they're saying, oh, but we just want to heal the wounds. We want to heal the wounds. This sounds a lot like the Bill Clinton thing of, you have nowhere else to go. The answer to that question is, yes, we do. We don't have to vote for you. We can go somewhere else. Even if we can't start our own thing, at the very least, we're not going to sit here and allow you to put us in a corner in this way. If you're going to win, you're going to win without us, which means you're not going to win at all. You're going to continue to fail. You're going to fail one election after the next. And we, yes, will take our ball and go home. Your strength in this, meaning talking about from the left, is to be willing to say no. Is to be willing to say no. Why are you having this conversation talking about you want to heal the wounds of 2016? Fuck that. Fuck that. This is not about healing the wounds of 2016. This is about winning. And if that means that they need to fail for you to do that, then they need to fail. They're taking you for granted. If you're talking about African Americans, you're being taken for granted. You're being taken for a ride. Hillary Clinton having a conversation with Mary J. Blige is in no way dealing with the issues that are affecting African Americans. This is not about optics. This is not about optics. And to have progressives, you know, stepping and fetching it when it comes to dealing with the Democrats is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You guys are supposed to be the rebel rousers. You're supposed to be the one who's pushing for change and pushing for this and that. And yet, you're being put into the corner. You're being sent away. And as you're walking out the door, you're still talking about, I want to heal the wounds of 2016. That's weak. That's weak. You leave and you become antagonistic towards the party. Whether or not you can craft your own thing right away, you become antagonistic towards the party, and you make it very clear that if they're not going to toe your line, that you're going to be okay with them losing continuously, eternally, until they become something that actually represents the left. You understand that this country is dealing with one issue after the next. We're dealing with global, catastrophic issues based on our behaviors on this globe. And the one edifice that we have in this country that's supposed to be the thing that makes a difference is the left. Now, the left in this is supposed to be the Democratic Party, and there is no way you can look at that party and say that party is the actual left when compared to the actual left parties. They're in the West. They're in other countries. You've been sold a bill of goods. What they're talking about as the left is essentially a conservative party. It's just so happened that the other conservative party in this country is batshit crazy. Having two parties in no way means that those two parties are the extreme. They are annoyed with progressives, but progressives, leftists, show an actual left. The Democratic Party is not the definitive left. And having these guys out here who's showing something that's actual left, who's showing us something that's actual real, and people who actually believe in certain principles, embarrasses the party. That's why they're putting you in a corner. That's why they're sending you away. And for you to come out with this weak answer of, I just want to heal the wounds of 2016. Fuck that. There's a time that as a man you walk away, and you be okay with walking away, and you just make this very clear point that until you do right by me, yes, color purple, until you do right by me, you will continue to fail. Your leverage is the fact that they can't win without you. Screw the wounds. Screw healing the wounds. Either the adults take over, or the adults leave and try to do something else. And if that means, as Chris Hedges says, you're walking in the wilderness for a period of time, then you're walking in the wilderness for a period of time. There's always a lift. There's always something that needs to take place in order for something to change. And if that means that we have to take a hit, then we take a hit. I have no good conscience putting anybody in that office that is not going to represent my interests or the interests of the people of the country. And if that means that the Democratic Party, the party that's supposed to be the vehicle for that, needs to fail over and over and over and over and over and over again until they get the hint, then that's what needs to take place. Don't like this weakness. Don't like this weakness at all. Local Clemente, Democrats are hell-bent on suicide. Garneau, if they want to heal wounds, one, clearly admit wrongdoing. Yes. Yes. Admit that you cheated. Start rolling the heads of the people involved. Yes. Agreed. Agreed. Garneau, I find the constant focus on race and gender itself a form of bigotry. I don't know about bigotry, but I don't like the politics of it. It's one thing to be against bigotry, like to say, I am against discrimination, I'm against bigotry, I'm against etc. It's another thing to use that as your purely and your only banner. Like this idea that we're the party that's against bigotry, but we're not going to do anything on economics. However, we're going to be against bigotry. So if you're against us, we're going to call you racist and bigots and sexist and everything else because that's the banner that we choose to fly. That banner obfuscates from the actual economic issues that are underlying the problems with the economy. Now, they don't want to touch that. Touching that adversely affects their donors, even though they can't raise money as it is because people don't necessarily want to put money behind losers. I'm not spending my $1 million on somebody who can't win a goddamn election. Hillary Clinton lost $1 billion in that election. She burned that money on the White House lawn. How many people could she have fed? How many homes could she have built? What could she have used that money for from a technological standpoint that would have made people's lives easier? She burned that money on the White House lawn. Fucking amazing. Sanders is far from a progressive paragon. Yeah, he's not a, you know, he's not a socialist. I guess, look, whatever people want to say about Sanders, then maybe I should have a video of assume the position based on Sanders. Yeah, that might be a good one. That might be a good one. I'll let the audience have a go at me about Sanders. But that's not a strength. I mean, that's not necessarily the strength of what Sanders was. Sanders as a weapon is because he woke people up. That's it. You're trying to get people out of their complacency. And you found this kind of instrument of sorts that has capacity to do it. Part of the reasons the Democrats are irked and are annoyed with Sanders is because people understand that Hillary Clinton failed, that she lost, and that more likely than not, Sanders would have won. It burns. That burns. To the same degree that she was inevitable, it is the same degree that people understand that Sanders would have won that election. And that burns. You write all the books in the world about what happened, you want. People understand that part of it. They get that part. All right, I have a few more, so I am going to end this. Sorry, just waking up, not making much sense. If you don't like the constant emphasis on race and gender to the exclusion of all else, yeah, I don't like it either. I agree, Gardner. Because he's so popular. Sanders is the best choice if he runs independent because he's so popular. That's true. Yes, I agree. But you have certain issues. Like, people aren't wrong when they say this country is difficult for a third party. You end up with a system where the parties cannibalize one another. It's like if 3 people run an election. You drain votes from one of the candidates, meaning one candidate drains votes from the other candidate. It's very possible that Sanders could win outright. It's very possible that Sanders would drain votes from somebody else, allowing the Republican to win. It's not the easy thing. Also, getting him to run in a race in a way that was cutthroat wouldn't necessarily be the easiest thing. I don't think he was thinking that way in regards to the election. I think if he ran in 2020, I think he would think that way then. Because I think in his head, it's, I can win this thing. And I think you have a fundamentally different race with somebody who says, I can win this thing and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win this thing, compared to, I don't think I can win it. I don't want to injure her as a candidate. And so I'm going to run a particular race. Those are fundamentally different. Those are very fundamentally different things. Don't put your hopes in Sanders. I'm not putting my hopes in Sanders. People misunderstand me on this front. Yeah, people misunderstand me on this front. If he runs an independent, he will be disappeared from corporate media. Yes, I agree with that. Lori Mountain Girl. Yes, that's possible. That's possible. For all the popularity that Sanders has now, he's jumping around the country and everything else. That's, even though he's not a Democrat, I think this gets shuffled through the lens of Democrats. If I know that sounds weird, but like, for instance, I think people who support Sanders specifically. But I think when the media is looking at this stuff, the media is looking at this stuff from the standpoint of Democrats. I don't think they look at him, purely as independent. And part of that just because he ran as a Democrat. And I think if he ran again, people understand that he would probably run as a Democrat, even though right now he's an independent. Not to mention he's been sheepdogging for Democrats. So there's that. There's that. Being the outreach coordinator for Democrats, there's that. So, yeah. Long-term general strategy. Keep fracturing both parties as we embolden third parties. I think you should attack every aspect of the Democratic Party that is problematic. Meaning, if you're going to support Medicare for all, great, Gold Star. If you're going to support college, Gold Star. If you're going to be militaristic, hell no, we're having to go at you. If you're going to give these tax cuts, if you're going to support Trump in this, in any particular policy that goes against what we would consider leftist values, yeah, you have to go at them. To the degree that they're not living up to their expectations as a party, yes, you should have a go at them. You should hit them over and over and over again. This fracture, they need to be undermined and subverted, and at some point they need to be cannibalized You can't continue with the Democratic Party in the way that it is. It's feckless. It can't win squat. Hillary Clinton ran against a reality show host and lost. She outspent him 2-1 and lost. And they are literally screaming at the top of their lungs about Facebook ads. They were Facebook ads. She was so weak as a candidate, she lost because of Facebook ads. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Yes, there's a civil war in the party. The adults need to take back over the party. The adults need to take back over the party. How that takes place, I don't know. I would make the case, though, that you should not support anybody that doesn't represent your interests. And if this party is purging people in this way, then those people who are being purged, A, should walk. And anybody else who's affiliated with that particular party who's on the left should also walk right behind them. There should be a solidarity built into this. This should not be a situation where they can purge members who are Bernie-crats and there's no consequence. Consequence is leaving them to their devices. If you want to have a corporate Democratic Party, have it without us. Have it without us. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. All right, I'm going to kill this because I have one more to do. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, guys.